It's an ill mind that's still time build and refine. Still getting mine in the 9 at 9 at 9. Build and refine, build and refine, build and refine. Still getting mine in the 9 at 9. Build and refine, still getting mine. Geometrix, 9 at 9. Sean J. 9 at 9. Stylus Chris. 9 at 9. DJ as 1. 9 at 9. 9 at 9. Don't touch the dial, you heard?
What's good, everybody? DJ Geometrix here. Monday night, 9 p.m. You know what that means. Welcome back to the 9 at 9 DJ podcast, the only show on the internet where we have 9 DJs on a roundtable panel discussing today's DJ topics. Tonight is part 2 of episode number 11. Our special guest panel from last week is back here tonight, so give it up one time for ALIZAY, DJ CUTSWELL, DJ SUN and WILL GRALLEY. And of course, you guys know the rest of the crew. My co-hosts, DJ As1, Sean J, and Stylus Chris are back.
Back up in it.
Word.
Welcome back, guys. Thanks for joining.
Again, if you guys missed last week's episode, you can always watch them again on our Facebook or YouTube pages, facebook.com/BeatRefinery or youtube.com/BeatRefinery. This show is brought to you by Beat Refinery DJ School at Bach to Rock. If you want to learn how to mix, scratch, and make music, visit us at beatrefinery.com with no locations nationwide. On that note, we have students tuning in to this podcast, so we always like to educate and give out a few helpful tips and inside tricks to the game. So we're going to start the show off with Sean J's tech tip of the week. So take it away, Sean.
Oh yeah, it's been a little while, so good to be back in the mix with the tech tip. So I'm going to do a little screen share situation. We've got 2 camera angles going over here, but this week we're going to be talking about 3 ways of having a live audio backup. As DJs, we all know that things can go wrong, transition between DJ A, DJ B, or just having a technical issue in the middle of the gig that you might not have expected. So let's do some technical magic. Switch the screen over. I'm going to show you guys a little bit of my perspective, my philosophy using what I have here in my studio setup. Check, check, check. Can you hear me? Whoop.
Nope.
1 2 1 2. All right, so now you guys are over here. We're looking at this overhead view here in my studio spot. So we're going to talk about 3 different ways that we can use audio. If you have a situation where Serato acts funny on you, your computer needs to be restarted, or maybe just the software. So I'm going to give you guys a couple hypotheticals just to kind of get the ideas flowing, and everybody has some familiarity with how this can go down. So let's say you're in the middle of a gig, you've got music playing over here, and then magically, for whatever reason, music stops. Everybody knows the most important thing you can do is not panic. So I'm going to give you 3 quick ways based on the situation that you can adjust fire in the middle of a technical situation that'll buy you a little bit more time to figure out what's going on and keep the party moving. So hypothetical number 1, you've got a Serato freeze. One thing I love to do and always have running in the background on my computer, instead of just having Serato open, I actually have another audio program open, in this case Spotify. So now you can hear some royalty-free music playing in the background that I can have Spotify now playing in the background while I get a chance to disconnect some RCAs, see what's going on, see if I can figure out where the problem is, reconnect things as I need to, and then when I'm back up and running again, all I have to do is volume down over here on Spotify, and we can get back into it on Serato like we normally would. So that's method number 1, having 2 different programs open. Backup program with a song cue that you can use for that transition, and that gives you a chance to figure it out. Method number 2, everybody's got one of these things. So I've got my phone connected into an auxiliary channel on my controller. Right now, if we've got music playing, as we did in the first example, now if the music cuts off, all I have to do because my phone is plugged in, same idea as having another piece of software open. I've got a music app. This one is just going to have a different song playing, queued up, ready to go. I can switch channels over, and now the audio source is coming from my phone. I can disconnect the USB cables, anything I might need to do in order to troubleshoot, just like before, figure out what's going on. I can close Serato, I can restart my computer, but having this second audio source is going to buy me the time I need to figure out what's up. So that's method number 2 for you. Final method number 3. I've got a device here that is a standalone audio device, and just very similar actually to having your phone on standby with a separate program. I've got a hardware device called the 1010 Music Black Box. We've talked about this in season 1, but what I actually have queued up is a couple different presets on this thing. You can think of it like an MPC that are my backup get out of jail tracks. So same thing happening over here, except this song is playing out of a separate output on my audio mixer that I'm using in the gig. That way, if I needed to power down my controller, if I needed to disconnect something physically, connect a completely different mixer in there, if I have an equipment failure, this thing over here is going to be my audio source to buy me the time to get everything going the way I need to. When I'm ready to go again, power back on, plug whatever I need to plug back in, as much time as you need, because I've got built-in contingency. Those are your 3 backup solutions for live backup at the gig, taking care of your audio, keeping you DJing, making money, assuming we are all out and doing events.
Basically, you can collect that check at the end of the night, guys.
That's the goal right there. I don't want to miss out on money.
Real quick, I think one question maybe to help note, I believe in the first scenario of the backup, it is important to know that you should not disconnect the USB cable.
Yes.
Because the audio through Spotify should be running, to be able to be heard, is running through the USB audio. So however, you can close and shut down Serato, but I would try to remember to leave the USB plugged in, just in the first scenario. That's it.
Better. Thank you for throwing that in there, Art. So I guess, does anybody else have any other suggestions or tips? How you guys, let's start with ALIZAY.
Will had a good point. I'm gonna bring up something, because I've actually had to use the backup iPhone when my controller, or when the CDJs were messing up. But I was playing from my phone. I got a phone call when that was happening, so it started ringing throughout the entire venue.
He was serious when he
got a FaceTime.
The airplane.
I was.
That's happened to me too.
If you have to use your phone as a backup, put it in airplane mode.
That's right.
Good catch.
Fun. Troll the guy and answer the phone call. Have him just talk to the whole venue.
Bro, where you at? I can't get in, man. Can you come get me at the door, man? Come on.
Hey, Sean, on the third one, that box, how long does it play for? Is it like, could you say it's the MPC? Is it just play, or?
It's just like an MPC. So it runs off an SD card. I've got a 64 gig SD card in there. So I just literally hit play on a pad, and then it's just going to play until that pad is done. I could have it loop from the beginning again, or I could have a whole sequence of things that happen. But the idea there is that thing is small enough to fit in a backpack. So I just leave that ready to go and press that preset when I start off.
Have a 5-minute loop of white noise, or like one of those riser effects, man.
Nice.
And I do have a question on your first backup tip with having Spotify on in the background, and I'm wondering if it's exclusive to the mixer you have. If I'm using Serato and a Pioneer controller or mixer, and I have Spotify on the background, if I hit play on Spotify, for me at least, I'll get the sound through my computer speaker. Is there a setting that you have to change to have Spotify play through the mixer that you're using?
Yes.
Great question. As long as you go into your audio settings and make sure that your default audio is coming out of the DJ mixer with the sound card inside of it instead of your default sound card, which is going to be the built-in one on your computer, Spotify and anything else you play through your computer will come out of the same place through the master knob or the auxiliary knob.
Are you on Mac OS X?
Me?
Yes.
No, Will. So simply on Mac OS X, you're going to go to System Preferences. You're going to click Sound tab, and then you're going to go to the Output tab, and then select your controller. So whatever controller you have plugged in
will pop up in the output.
Yep.
Yeah, it's acting as a sound card.
You click that, and then it comes out of your mixer, whatever it is, controller, mixer, whatever. You just want to test what channel it shoots it out of. A lot of times, a lot of times it shoots it out of channel 1, and you just want to be wary of that. So you just want to keep the volume fader up.
That's a great backup.
I just keep a USB plugged into the CDJs digitals set up. If the digital set up, and then just I have a song pre-selected that I know can just drop and be at least 5 minutes long. So back that ass up.
There you go.
Right from the beginning of the song with the bass line, and it'll sound like you almost did it on purpose, and then just turn from phono line to digital, depress the scroller on the CDJ and hit plays. 3-step motion, you're good to go. And I keep a full record box of 500 songs organized like a Serato crate in there.
I like that. Nice.
Yeah,
I like that a lot, especially if there's 3 CDJs where you can just be ready to hit play right away if things go wrong.
I was about to say, a lot of times I've seen like the bigger EDM DJs come through our city, and they ask for like 3 or 4 CDJs, and one of them is almost always a dump button, basically, like, oh, shit's fucking up. Press play on this one, save it. Yeah.
I don't really feel like doing a set tonight. This is
you're pre-mixing that.
When it comes to you asking the question, though, what do you use for backups? I was actually at dinner with some DJ friends, and we talked about horror stories from weddings. And one of our DJ friends actually drove 3 hours away and for a wedding. Got there, realized he did not have his hard drive with all of his music on it. So his computer is just empty. All of the songs are on his hard drive. So something I suggest is bringing, if you do have all of your music on a hard drive, or even just your computer, bringing a backup hard drive with all of your songs for those DJs out there that have it on a hard drive, like myself. I'd also suggest carrying around a backup charger. Just always have it in your backpack, because I've been in the same situation where I drove an hour and a half away for a wedding, and I didn't have my charger. So now I always have 2 on me, no matter what.
That's like the first thing I usually buy whenever I buy a new computer. I'll buy multiple
second charger.
I hate. I've forgotten chargers before. Like I'll have one in my office. I'll have one in the living room. I'll have one in my bag. But as far as man, I never understood the whole external hard drive thing, man. Like,
at first, I did.
Do you still use it?
No, I'm not doing that. I actually was able to. I put a.
There's so much risk involved with that.
So scary, man.
I put a 2 terabyte SSD in.
more things that can go wrong. Just adding another hoop to jump through.
I've had plenty of things go wrong while using hard drives. Absolutely. But to be honest with you, it's like a lot of times it's, again, these tech companies forcing you into this. At the very moment, I could not afford whatever the hell SSD was costing, especially Apple's they're like, oh yeah, this is our, the upgrade that they can do. Fuck that shit. Like, way too expensive. So, I was kind of forced into it because I needed to keep working. And as a club DJ, battle DJ, and wedding DJ, I had a lot of music I needed to kind of work around, and the hard drives were the only things that were big enough to just carry dump loads of music, but that was the other issue. Serato trying to load 750 gigabytes worth of music
takes a minute. Yeah, you might as well go to the bathroom, wash, or you do your thing, tap up the bartenders, come back. The shit is still on, So if you're getting at the club and you have the manager, general manager, and they're like, "Okay, you're here, people are here, music on, what the hell?" And they're like, "Yeah, I'm working on that." And they're like, "Everything's on," and you're like, "Yeah, but my Serato is trying to load." You sound like a dickhead, and that's been me plenty of times, But at the end of the day, I have moved off of the hard drives,
But in terms of backups, I kind of do everything that Sean has said. Mainly I use VLC, guy. So I use VLC as my secondary program and to play audio if I need to reset Serato. But other than that, I was gonna say one thing that I did. It's in the house now, but what I did, especially during wedding season, I would keep a car. It's like you have an emergency car kit.
Yeah.
It's like got a flashlight and like a whatever the hell, a little glass breaker.
You gotta have something in your car with it.
And flares. I had a
No dose.
I had a backup box that was basically like extra hard drives or even thumb drives.
Thumb drives are amazing.
Yes, thumb drives of music.
Keep one on the keychain. That's the easiest thing to do.
Yep, it'll save your ass.
I've got 3 of them.
I had batteries, so I would keep this thing full of batteries. Like I would always be at the venue, and I would like, fuck, I need more AA's. I need a 9-volt. Like I would just buy it in bulk and then keep it in the car. And this stuff literally stayed in the car. I did not take it out of my car.
Here's I will say, to me, the most fail-proof backup is yourself. Being able to get on a microphone and hold a crowd, or just hold the attention of people when
Just know how to beatbox.
I think if anything, people have probably learned how to engage a little bit more through the pandemic and get on a microphone. I know a lot more DJs are touching microphones more than they ever have.
Yeah.
So
you're getting some training now.
So, at this point, if you need to stop the music for a second, that's if you can command that with just your voice, then you'll never.
You won. Yeah, you won.
You won the game.
Sure.
You won the game. Sure. And secondly, if you're really afraid and like at wedding situations are really high end, if you're doing an event for somebody that's a really big gig, and a lot of times these really big gigs will have a union based outfit that's coming in to provide all the sound and the back line and everything. That's all fine and dandy, but if anything happens, everybody's going to blame the DJ. We know how that goes. I started bringing to really high profile events an uninterrupted power source. It's about this big.
UPC.
And you plug all your stuff into it, so if there's any glitch to the power, anything that gets shut down, you got about 15 minutes that you can power your entire setup and even your PA, including some speakers. So to me, that's the other really important backup, especially for the mobile DJs.
That's a really good tip.
Especially if you're out in like, the sticks or like any venue that's like on the water. You can never trust those power outlets, man. Like,
yep.
Never.
Exactly.
Always something wrong.
Could you link me with what you use?
Yeah. I'll send it through, and we'll make sure it's available for everybody listening. But pretty easy to find. They're about $100. Uninterrupted power source. You can find them on Amazon.
All the places
even like
tech things.
Home Depot, I think, even sells them, because like a lot of construction workers need them in places where they're going in and they can't get to power, so they can pump that in and pile drive the shit out of something. It's powerful.
Jackhammer and shit.
Yeah. Big up Sean J on the tip of the week. The tech tip is brought to you by Beat Refinery. And Sean J, you are the man for every week supplying some very key knowledge. I learned so much from all your tech tips, man. So thank you so much.
Real quick, off topic. Did anybody hear about that Chainsmokers concert?
Yeah.
That was viral today.
What about it?
Oh, and the opening DJ was the CEO of Goldman Sachs.
Goldman Sachs, yeah.
No,
David Solomon. He calls himself D-Saw. Apparently, he's been DJing for like years now.
How did I miss
the opening act?
I didn't hear that. That's crazy.
Wait, they did a live show?
It's a drive-in concert.
Oh.
It was packed.
So they had
up to $25,000.
500 cars or parking spots, And yeah, like some of the VIP spots are like up to 25,000. You get about $25,000. You get like a private bathroom and private like RV.
Let me guess, this is in California somewhere.
No, it's at the
Hamptons.
It's in the Hamptons.
Oh, word, the Hamptons. Damn, son.
Literally nobody was social distancing. Apparently, you know, everybody.
You see the picture?
They're supposed to stay in their little section
In their car?
but they're like most of them like a lot of them are just like heading out to like the front of the near the stage and just like I mean bottles being popped everywhere. So
Wow.
That picture was crazy. Yeah, I saw that. It looked like a full blown concert. Yeah, haven't seen one of those in a while.
We had like 4 or 5 of them here, and they were actually a lot more responsible and put together and went really
Like
well.
a drive-in thing?
Yeah.
Oh, tight.
Bunch of them. There's a company out here called Relentless Beats, and they basically do all the festivals in the Southwest.
oh wow.
They're teamed up with Insomniac or something like that too. I don't know. They had 4 or 5 of them, and I saw a lot of video, and it was everybody stayed in their area. I thought it was actually a really great thing and a great way to go about it. You know, you've got groups of people that have already agreed to be together.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the VIP costs were like. This first one, like no alcohol was allowed. And the second one, they made it BYOB, which I don't know. I guess you have to trust that there's a designated driver, but they went really well. I don't know if they're still allowed to do them, if they're currently can't do them with the laws, but they were a huge success out here. Huge.
I saw Mark Rebier did something like that too. He did a whole
I was
drive-in
just about to say that his entire tour right now.
His whole tour was a drive-in theater thing.
Yeah.
Comedians are doing it too. Tom Segura and Greg Kreischer.
Oh really? Wow.
Billy, a.k.a. Doc Blust.
Shouts to Doc Blessed.
Everything. Pretty soon there's gonna be roller rinks again everywhere. It's gonna be drive-throughs and roller rinks.
Hey,
Back to
that
the
sounds pretty
70s,
good.
baby.
That
I
sounds.
love roller rinks.
I'm ready to
Childhood
DJ at a
right
roller
there.
rink. Let's go.
Yeah, any of y'all DJ'd a roller rink before? I mean, I know. Yeah, man. Shout out to the roller rink. It's fun DJing roller.
I used to roller skate too, so
Yeah, me too.
It looks fun, man. I'm trying to do that.
Kept on some James Brown too.
Yeah, and like the fun of a roller party is that you can just play that special pocket like 110 beats per minute. It's right in that groove, man. You can go up,
funky.
you can go down.
Anything
It's
that's
there. It's so good. Like, you know, son, you're a king of that tempo, man. That's where you live all day. You know, I love that.
New Jack.
The boogie.
The boogie, the new Jack.
Yeah. So when we were wrapping up our first the episode, we were kind of finishing up about everybody's current situations on.
Well, that's why I kind of want to pivot there because, like, we'll probably look at New York's cases from that Chainsmokers concert and see if Long Island goes up a little bit.
Oh man, I mean, no matter what we do, I think I can't remember who said it. It might have been CUTSWELL, but it's like if you're gonna do something, you've got to expect the consequences that are gonna come with it. And it's like you could say like, yeah, we got to do something and it's safe, it's in the guidelines. But when it sounds outrageous or sounds surprising, don't be surprised by the results that come after it 2 weeks later. It's just, you know, if you can.
4th of July. We just passed. You know, it's been like over 2 weeks now. So that's where the cases are rising now. I mean, we'll definitely expect that during Labor Day.
Yeah, and you know, I think a lot has been put on. You know, wear your mask, and even when you go out, I think it's unfair to put it on one side of the politics. I just see a lot of people on all kinds of politics not wearing masks, and it's sad because even though I think we all probably agree on the same of like where the failure was, but it's even still. People are just at the end of the day, this is exposing the selfishness of American culture, and regardless of what your politics and where they lie, people just act like they don't that they don't need to do their part. That by wearing a mask they're actually being weak. They don't actually realize they're being strong, and they're looking out for humanity in that sense. And that's a strong characteristic of a good human being. Instead, it's like, you know, I'm not sick. Why should I wear this mask? And
it's my body. I can
very counterintuitive. It's just very counterintuitive to what they want. Like, everybody wants their freedom, and they don't realize that if you just put your freedom could be wear a mask, and you'll have a lot more freedom a lot quicker. And
back to what I was saying in the production meeting, you know, I think America, we have obviously clearly put the word freedom on a pedestal in some sorts, right? And in reality, I think it's like, what about the opportunity that people talk about when they come here and stuff like that? Freedom is not the first thing. They don't come to America for freedom. You know, it's like the people that are born here, we're born into this
opportunity.
We're born into this idea of freedom, and it's kind of gotten out of hand in terms of freedom is simply a word to just be able to act a fool and say, oh, well, I'm free to do so. So eat a bag of, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
That's the attitude, you know,
Insert
like,
thing there.
Insert whatever word you want to eat a bag of.
Eat a bag of chips.
Or eat a bag of chips. There we go. Carrots. I've been doing a little bit of thinking about this, though, and in trying to play devil's advocate just a little bit. There's a certain amount of collective trauma that we have to acknowledge for people wanting to find some normalcy. And I'm not excusing it, but I'm been trying to like take a step back and observe what people are doing, because on the surface, this is the first time in any of our lifetimes that we've experienced the entire world going through a thing that interrupts all of your day-to-day activities, and everything that you would normally consider normal is completely upside down. But this is, in that search for normalcy, this is the time of year where in normal times, where things aren't upside down, everybody goes to the beach, or everybody's got a thing they do at this time of year. And I feel like in the chaos of everything that's happening right now, people are trying to find that normal by pretending there's not a problem where they can, and just like we said before, not acknowledging the consequences of saying, I'm going to act like it's not here just for the weekend so I can go out to the beach, or so I can go and see my friends down the way that I haven't seen in 4 months, and all of that. So I can understand how people are taking on that thought process of, I'm going to do it because I don't know what else to do, and this is what I would normally do. But that's where that sense of entitlement of, I choose to do something without regard for how that affects everyone else.
But it's also like, you know, like those people are the ones that's like, it's not affecting them because they don't know anybody that's, you know, that's being affected like by the virus, you know, and that's
exactly the issue, because just because you don't know someone doesn't mean your actions don't affect someone else.
And I do want to build off of what you guys are talking about, because I feel like I'm one of the younger people here. You know, I'm 28, and a lot of the people I've been talking to recently, when it comes to their viewpoint on going out and how comfortable they feel at a packed club if they were in one, there's a lot of consensus that younger, healthy people will not be as drastically affected by the coronavirus as other people, and they carry that type of perception as a shield that gives them the freedom to do what they do. Because from what I've seen on social media, for a lot of people, they're still going out every day of the week. And in fact, what's actually happened with staying at home and working, there's a lot more drinking going on. And I was talking to a buddy earlier today on how he does it. And he's like, Will, I can go out, have, you know, a great time, and show up, clock in digitally at work at 8 a.m. and no one knows I'm hungover or that I'm struggling. They just know that I'm clocking in. And that's actually happening across the board for, I feel like, that younger 21 to at least what I can speak on, like 30 age group. And so I think that's kind of what's fueling it. So it's not as much as a disregard as a false perception of safety, which is something that I also call into question, because I guess this would be my unpopular opinion. I do think that healthier young adults aren't as high as a risk of having severe repercussions of the coronavirus. I, however, acknowledge the fact that they can act as carriers and spread it to demographics that would be at risk and cause a lot of harm. So ultimately, I'm a little nervous about saying this in the spectrum that I'm about to say it on, but my personal belief on coronavirus is that healthy young adults should be able to go out and do whatever they want, and that quarantining should be specific to demographics or medical conditions that people are aware of that puts them at a higher risk. And if you choose to go out knowing that you're in that higher risk category, that's your freedom, that's your right. So I kind of have a little bit of a skewed perspective on things, but I'm not forcing it down anybody's throats, and I respect where everybody's coming from.
So if I can offer something,
the virus will. Sorry.
Go ahead.
If you do that, the virus will always be spreading, and those people will always have to be quarantined.
I also hold to the conclusion that it's not going to stop unless we do an Italy level quarantine. For example, me being younger and living by myself, when I heard the word quarantine, I thought I was not going to be able to go get groceries, go get gas, do anything. I thought I was going to be quarantined at home for 30 days. You do not leave your apartment. I thought that's what that meant. I feel like unless we go through something,
that's what it should have meant.
Yeah,
I agree. I was ready. I bought all this food and water. I was going to live off of rice and beans for 30 days. 45 days.
That's what everyone that hoarded toilet paper thought too.
Thank you. That's exactly what I just was about to say. Is that was the whole reason that
was the mentality. Yeah.
Right, and that's been to a quarantine before. Nobody told me that you'd be able to go to the grocery store, which to me made no sense. Those people weren't protected. Everybody was still close together in a grocery store, so I thought it was counterintuitive. But to address what CUTSWELL is saying, I think that no matter what we do, unless we go that way and be super strict or get a vaccine, with what's happening now, it will always be there. No matter what, So, but it's about lesser of two evils.
Let's go to SUN. Go ahead,
yeah,
SUN.
So if I can counter, so we're the richest country in the world. We've got the resources. There's $2 billion sitting, just waiting to be spent on contact tracing, right? And for some reason, we don't have the appetite to do that. But it's the wisest thing to do. So if we were to contact trace and actually spend the effort and spend the money to do that, then you can come forth with your particular hypothesis where it's okay, let's try to figure out who are the healthiest, let's figure out where the problems are. Otherwise, you're doing what you're proposing is basically a crapshoot, because you don't know who's going to die within your community, even within the 20s and 30s, because people are dying at that age as well. And so you are taking a risk. Now, eventually what's going to happen is, when we talked about this on our previous show, what's going to happen is you'll have herd immunity, right? Herd immunity is at about 80%. We're probably at about 10% right now. So there's going to be a long time before that happens. And we're not saying coronavirus is going to go away. What we're saying is we need to plateau this so that it can be managed so people don't needlessly die. Because what's happening is hospitals get overrun. When hospitals get overrun, you get the situation in Italy where they have to decide, well, are we keeping grandma or are we keeping the 30-year-old? And those are ethical decisions that communities have to make. That affect communities, affects the doctor, affects everything. And those are real downers. And that's where we don't want to go. So we just want to plateau the thing and make sure that slowly the entire population gets it. At 80%, you get herd immunity or a vaccine comes. Vaccines, on average, take 10 years to develop. When they rush it, 4 years. They're on a super fast track. And they're talking about end of the year. I don't really believe it.
I don't buy that either.
How many people take a vaccine?
Trials in a few months.
Well, that's another question too.
40% maybe.
you got anti-vaxxers, but then you also have people who like legitimately don't.
They're just scared. They're just like, this is crazy. It's happening so fast. I mean, a lot of people are like, yay, there's a vaccine coming, but you go get it first. Tell me what happened.
You be the guinea pig.
That's the camp I'm in right now.
Well, they're using all the protocols to make sure that it's being tested. Like if you follow the research, they are going through it. And because this is a novel coronavirus, but there's been other coronaviruses, there has been research on coronavirus before that has actually assisted with, trying to find a vaccine on this one. So that could help, but it's still like 18 months, I think.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you this. When you come to define a plateau and what it takes to really achieve that plateau, are you talking in the sense that if we have a country come together and go through certain policies and achieve that plateau, does that mean then we get to go back to what we are doing? Because in my mind, when you say we reach a plateau, in order to maintain that consistent plateau, we'd have to continue doing and enacting those policies and these restrictions and these rules in order to keep it consistent. So does reaching a plateau mean an ends to a mean, or is it just the beginning of a new standard?
It's the beginning of this standard while the virus is prevalent. And what you do is you find that plateau and then you do contact tracing. And contact tracing, we're not doing at all.
Well,
that's not American.
The problem with that is in America, people love their freedom. Contact tracing goes against your freedom, right? They're like, oh, you're looking into my life, what you did the last 2 weeks. I agree with you, but that's why America doesn't even give a fuck about it.
Because they say, well, but that's the on all political fronts. That's what politics and lobbyists and the things that completely corrupt a system that could, in a lot of ways, on paper, be very beautiful.
Americans won't go for it.
It's corrupted by special interest groups and lobbyists that, no matter what the issue is, that say that if you give them a little bit, then they're going to take everything from you. If you give them the ability to background check you and make certain guns illegal, that's just because as soon as you give them that, then all guns will be illegal. Or if that's what's in their brains, and
that's the leading superpower of the world, and we're about to go to AI and self-driving cars. You're going to tell me we can't find a solution for contact tracing so that you don't have the freedom to kill his grandmother? Because that's basically what the freedom is, right? I have the freedom to kill XYZ's grandmother. Why not? Because that's what's basically happening if you really think about it. While you're thinking that, well, I'm not going to get sick, you're not thinking about, well, I could infect someone who takes it to their grandma.
Well, and also I think that a lot of the stats are, most people they get coronavirus from a family member. It's not from random spots. It's like one of their family members did get it out in the community and they bring it back to a home, and that's where you see these tragic stories of 4 or 5 family members all just, it's like they were on a plane and the plane crashed, and you out of nowhere you've lost three aunts and an uncle and a grandma, like that.
To qualify my stance, because I agree 100% with contact tracing and with what Sun just said, part of my idea would be the quarantine would still be in effect for anybody at risk. So if you're in a household, if you live in a household with grandma, you wouldn't be allowed to leave because of exactly that. So I agree with 100% where you're coming from with limiting that risk of exposure to people at risk.
You don't know who has pre-existing conditions. So
the pre-existing conditions may not be the thing that makes it an issue.
So it's actually interesting because you mentioned that earlier, and I thought it was interesting because at least with my upbringing, when it comes to pre-existing conditions like Crohn's disease or diabetes or anything that would make your immune system susceptible, you would be knowledgeable of that growing up. So I guess I'm not talking about minor pre-existing conditions, but more or less some of the more significant ones that directly affect your immune system that you would have found out by going to the doctor as a kid because you had the flu 3 times a year, or you had consistent growing fevers.
I mean, Scarface is a high-profile example of how that doesn't necessarily always That's not always the case. He didn't have kidney failure. He didn't need dialysis before, but as soon as coronavirus hit, it hit his kidneys, vital organs, you know. So, and the research is still being done on what's effective. We know that 40% of people that have passed from coronavirus, it's been through diabetes. So we know diabetics are at a high risk. We know that, but there's other factors, you know, like Sean J was alluding to, like you don't necessarily know, and we won't know until this thing is like a couple of years into it and people have like exhausted the research to know exactly where. It's a novel coronavirus. Novel meaning, man, this thing is new, you know, and with this 15-second IG story kind of attention span, yeah, we think we get to hear it all, and I think somebody mentioned about the headlines, and the headlines not necessarily summarizing everything, you know. There's an hour-and-a-half discussion I'll have with my sister. We're on the same political spectrum, but we have a disagreement about something, and an hour-and-a-half later, we're basically finding a consensus. People are not doing that. They're finding a minute and a half to post on Facebook or to read something on Instagram, and all of a sudden everyone's a genius about what's going on politically, you know. And it's like, but the Orange Clown plays on that through Twitter. He's made that a cultural thing now. Like, oh, let's just post on Twitter, and that's going to be like how I'm controlling the thought process. And I mean, I can go on and on. We can go an hour and a half here, and I'll still be talking about this, but it's it's something to think about, you know, to use a little bit more of a longer thought process, read a little bit more on things, especially in these times where we're dealing with something that's novel, it's new, it's brand new.
And, you know, just to share something a little personal, that, you know, I'm glad I'm able to talk about it with you guys, because to be honest, I haven't ever really said how I feel about what the pandemic should, you know, I haven't really stated the opinion I just did to anybody really recently at all. So I appreciate your guys' input into kind of enlightening me into something that I might not have considered before. And it's actually kind of spurred me at a personal level, because I'm adopted and I have a closed adoption, which means I won't ever probably find out who my birth parents are. What I also recently found out is that I have no knowledge of any pre-existing medical conditions on paper. I don't know if I have tendency towards addiction or something that could run in the family. I don't know if I could have Alzheimer's run in the family. I don't know if I could have Huntington's disease, whatever it might be. And so hearing, you know, this perspective on what happened to DJ Scarface, you know, it's given me a little bit more of a respect towards what CUTSWELL is addressing with unknown factors medically, because I have grown up very healthy as a kid, a young adult, and now an adult. But I guess I can't knock that there still might be something in the background that I'm truly unaware of. So I appreciate that new type of perspective that you guys have kind of shared with me.
I mean, of the two DJs that passed away in Arizona, seemingly very healthy people. Like, I don't know their personal shit, but they weren't like...
Did they get strokes? Because strokes apparently are hitting younger people. And then there's something else that hits kids. That there were several cases in New York.
Yeah, it's like a rash that is the predetermining thing for little kids. Like, they get a visible rash, and depending on like the pigment of your skin, you may or may not be able to see it too.
Yeah, wow. I mean, as far as I know, one of them had a hard time breathing, went to the hospital, put on a ventilator, sedated, not enough oxygen was going to the brain, but now it's brain dead. They kept him on ventilation an additional week to see, because of his young age, to see if maybe there would be I don't know if you want to use the word miracle, but a drastic change, and there wasn't, so they took him off life support. Well,
coronavirus is going to disappear. It's like a miracle.
Get them bleach lasers.
Be gone.
It's just going to disappear like a miracle, apparently.
COVID-19 be gone. But
I can't wait for like schools to reopen. I mean, what do you guys think about that?
Yeah, but I'm sorry for your loss.
You can't wait? Well, you don't have kids, bro. What's happening?
I just want to say I'm sorry for your loss in that community. That's
one of them was like big DJ out here, 25 years. Me and him worked for the same company. The other one also lost his father. So when you were talking about it spreading to the family, it's like devastating to the community.
Yeah, I don't think, I think that's a loss.
No memorial. We can't get together and rage.
Right.
Celebrate them. And sucks, It's terrible.
Yeah, I mean, we've had really iconic people pass away, not corona related, but just in this time frame where you can't celebrate their life. And then to family members that have lost their loved ones and they can't even give them a proper send off. It's a really just, if you've been dealing with it on the front line, and I think that's the thing that is really sad, is what we're noticing in our society and in humanity in general is there's just a true lack of empathy beyond coronavirus. We've seen it through that's why the racial uprising has happened in this country, is because there is a screaming desire to see empathy for people. And it started with the vulnerableness of the coronavirus to people, and I think why a lot of times I'm really happy for the majority of my DJ community, family and friends, and because we're seeing this all and using our platforms, most of us, to talk about it, because we're seeing it not only in our own lives and how our own way of making a living and living this life has been completely knocked from under us, and then you take the fact that we see how the injustices of the music industry, the injustices of just our general system, and people are saying no more. They're just like, we're not going to do it anymore. And really what truly has to happen at the end of the day is more empathetic characteristics of all of us towards each other, even the ones that we don't agree with, even the ones that might have been given the easy road, when it's so hard for people to want to come to a place of humble change, of whether that means like Will, just as you said, you're very humble in your approach to saying thank you guys for enlightening me to something. Most people will just die on the hill of their opinion, and they don't ever want to back away from it. And that starts from what we were talking about before with the political agendas of where governors and leaders won't ever say that they were wrong. It's like, to me, if somebody would come out and say they're wrong, the sad thing is all their opponents will use that against them. But instead, like, what an incredible lesson it would be for people to just come out and say, you know what, I was looking at this the wrong way. I admit it. I was looking at this the wrong way, but now I see it, and I'm on the right side. And just it's against, and it's not even fair to necessarily American trait. It's against humanity to, our pride is our greatest form of deception. We look at it in the sense of it's our greatest gift, but pride is actually the thing that it's a powerful weapon that can go one way or the other. It can destroy us at the same time. So
Stylus Chris for president.
I think that was like kind of like what I was touching on with like Florida's governor, and I was talking the last episode about how he's never wanted to roll back openings, and he refuses to roll back openings because then it makes him wrong. Yeah. But like I said, they found another way to do that through the ban of alcohol sales. And even when he was questioned about that, when in a press conference they asked him, like, would you ever consider rolling back alcohol bans? And he looked at him straight in the face and was like, didn't they just pass the ban on alcohol sales? Like, he didn't care. I'm like, dude, just say that you were wrong, and people would have a lot more respect for you than just being like, oh, I didn't do it, they did it. Like, dude, you're 100% right. I think that's the issue that is a pressing issue on all fronts and all spectrums and all sides of this argument is no one wants to admit that they're wrong, or they'll die.
Well, it starts from the top, so
it does, 100%. Yeah,
the guy at the top is
guy at the top is definitely doing that.
Showing everybody that fuck this.
Well, you know what though? No, he set the playbook. That's the playbook.
Yeah, exactly.
DeSantis is just following that playbook because
he's his little mini-me.
No doubt. It's funny you mentioned that. There was an article today, actually, that used that particular comparison. That dude is kind of like maybe the next Orange Clown. I don't use his name.
Oh, boy.
I don't want to use his name.
Yeah.
Orange Julius Caesar.
Yo, let's just not hire people that aren't qualified for the position anymore.
You know?
Early on the ballot, it said political experience, none.
Or like entertain. I mean, for a lot of people, I think electing.
So don't write Kanye in.
So you're not voting for Kanye.
Do you know what I'm kind of scared of? And comedians talk about this a lot. Being perfect, and how I just started playing music on iTunes. Hold on.
Oh,
how dare you not be perfect on our podcast?
Something embarrassing.
Don't let it bleed, man. We might get copyright issue.
Right, dude. It was Wheels in the Bus from a birthday party I did not too long ago. I'm glad that didn't come through. How if you do anything wrong at all, that it will be used against you to destroy your career, even though you're trying to do something that might be good in the world. You know, I would rather have an imperfect president who has made plenty of mistakes in the past, but as long as they have their head on straight now and what they're trying to do is unite the country, lead, and bring the United States to the superpower and the country that it can be. I don't care what you've done in the past as long as it's not too atrocious. You know what I mean? But they're using every little thing to ruin someone. And now that we're living in a world where everything is documented, everything is on, you know, what if I decide to run for president 50 years from now, they pull up my IG story from Panama City Beach 2014. Yeah, that would probably make me lose the election. But that was, again, 40 some years ago. And when it comes to, you know, not what CUTSWELL was saying about let's elect the right person, I really hope that we as a country can look at what a person is doing now and the character that they overall have, because now imperfections are just going to be pointed out everywhere. You know.
Yeah, I'm definitely not for like a certain part of cancel culture, because that's what you're highlighting on. You're highlighting cancel culture right now, and I'm not for all of it. Some of it definitely 100% well deserved. But I think that kind of goes back to what Stylus Chris was saying, is being able to acknowledge your past mistakes, whatever they may be, say that you fucked up, and move on.
That's what's amazing.
Say that you learn from something and then be able to move on. Yeah, I mean, canceling someone for not wanting to learn is just...
So, I mean, what I'm thinking about that is, you know, the U.S. is like the country for redemption, right? Like people can...
I was about to say that, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I think what we're battling with is at the very top, we've got someone with a narcissistic personality disorder, and then we've got cronies following that, and that's a dangerous recipe. So I would say let's give people a psychological test before they run for president and make sure they're not narcissists.
I think that actually one of the things that this president did was make it so that anyone with any past can be elected.
Yeah,
man. I think we're actually like off about that, because you know, it used to be like that if you went through my Snapchat history that I would never get elected, but now we can say things like grab him by the whatever and just be like, whatever. And that kind of, I think that actually has some positive benefits to it, because maybe there's a lot of talent out there that wants to run for office that doesn't, because they've done something like maybe a little bit stupid, but they definitely can run now as long as they run a strong campaign. I think we're actually more accepting in a lot of ways, even though there is a great cancel culture. There's kind of weird duality to the situation where you can be held more accountable than ever, yet also get away with more than ever.
Well, check this out. What about the idea of how the American dream has transformed just in the last like 16 years? Because at the beginning of Obama's term, it was, all right, work really hard, be an advocate for your community, do these things that are positive, and work your way up the ladder and fight against oppression and all of the things holding back the possibility of you reaching this seemingly impossible goal to the presidency. But now, if you were to sit down a little kid and say, like, what is the American dream? Your dad gives you a bunch of money, and then you end up in the most powerful position ever, and you can do whatever you want. So, like, the idea of what America values and what that dream, that air quotes dream, used to be versus is now is completely upended. And even a step further than that, I think when we're talking about, like, what leadership does, one of the biggest lessons I've learned in my life is that a good leader is supposed to remember to praise people publicly and scorn and correct in private. So I'm going to take this opportunity to say, like, as we're talking about cancel culture and how we can go the opposite direction, I would like to thank you, Will, for taking that moment to be vulnerable and say, hey, talking with you guys has given me a perspective I might not have had otherwise, because these are the kind of moments, we've been talking about it for a good little while now. These are the kind of moments that are allowing people to transform their way of thinking and consider something different. And if we are not acknowledging that that is a positive thing, and you took it upon yourself to come to that conclusion, it was not forced on you by a Twitter argument, then this could be proof of the world, the country going in a different direction. Whereas if we only focus on people when they do something terrible, or we highlight their worst Snapchat story, then that 15-second cycle just keeps going on and on and on.
Well,
and also,
go ahead.
Be here all day.
And also, what about like, for me, it's more of a mental health thing or staying healthy. I've had 3 friends die, not from COVID, 2 heart attack, and one stroke. Well, 2 heart attack, 1 had a stroke, died. But then I know you heard the info about it just came out this past Friday with Biz Markie.
Yeah.
It is.
So
Yeah.
that's like, that's kind of like my second dad, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
but he doesn't have COVID, and a lot of people.
Well, there's speculation on it, so that's good.
No, he doesn't. I mean,
yeah.
I'm first, I talk to his wife every day, so we're dealing with, okay, people are dying from COVID, but people are also dying from going crazy and stressing. And that's something that's not being talked about, you know what I'm saying? And eating right and putting the right things in.
We could go on for an hour on that.
Nah, for sure.
Health,
so, it's like, so it's like, for me, I've been doing a lot of writing, you know what I'm saying? And getting my thoughts out, because, your thought, just holding a lot of that stuff in, man, it'll kill you.
That's
besides
right.
COVID.
We're also creative people, like that's
Exactly.
one of the things I've been doing. Like, I've upped my videography game, like just video, editing. But it's like, it's at the end of the day, man, we're all creative people. We got to find outlets out there. I mean,
you gotta let it out, bro.
Right now, it's this whole climate is preventing us to do that, but you gotta find it somewhere. I mean, like, either you go into like music production, edit some music, or do a lot of DJs are doing so well with Twitch. They're following what the video gamers are doing on Twitch right now. Doing the whole stream, but
just stay away from the Sony catalog.
Can we talk about that next? By the way, the whole Twitch aspect of things, I would love to get you guys' perception on some things.
I love hearing that from you, Gio, just because I honestly feel like it's kind of taken a toll on myself as of lately. Like, I've just been like, I feel like almost like I'm like just in this weird funk right now, like not being able to DJ and not getting, I think someone else touched on it earlier, the same kind of fulfillment from streaming that I do with having a live audience in front of you. And I think that's kind of started to affect my mental lately. Like, I've had no desire to stream lately. I haven't collected music in like a month.
Same.
Like, I haven't touched my DJ set in probably like 3 weeks. Like, it's awful. And it's something that I've kind of come to the realization as of late. Like, I'm not myself right now. Like, I know that for a fact, 100%. Like, I'm just looking through my fucking Twitter timeline and like, man, I'm just like this angry fucking dude, but it's not me. But it's just like,
no.
I would give you a hug.
it's tough, man, because like, you're right. Like, we are creative people. We need that outlet. We need that that avenue to express ourselves and to it's been all of our mental for years. You know, I'm in this 20 years now. It's all I know. It's this avenue, and having it taken
and that
away.
Stress alone can kill you.
100%, man, and it's honestly really fucking with me. Like, and I've gone to like try to do other things to take my mind off shit, like things that I could do safely, like taking bike rides and whatnot. Now I'm definitely more active, more physical, but you know, at the end of the day, it's like, man, this void in my head is like not being fulfilled right now. And I think the mental health aspect that you're touching on is just like, it's such a big thing that no one's talking about.
It's so under, you know, they try to.
It's like it's so like being brushed under right now.
But it's the biggest thing.
I know for a fact it's affecting me. 100% it's affecting me.
Right.
You know, like I feel like on average right now I'm probably seeing and going out and seeing my friends like in person like once a month, just out of the necessity that I have to. Yeah. I have to. Like I've been in my house for 3 weeks, 4 weeks at a time, ordering food to go and bringing it back to the house. Like the only outside activity I get is when I go for a bike ride at like 3 o'clock in the morning, because number one, those are our hours. Number two, no one else is on the road.
This is the first time in my life that I've seen like a therapist. You know what I'm saying? Like I've literally had to like,
and that's okay.
No, it's awesome, but it's like
100%. See, there you
go.
But
like, it's hard for a lot of people to even come around to that. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you know, just
and a lot of people have no avenues to talk about it like we're talking about it right now.
Seriously.
They're just in their house, and all this shit is just building up in their head.
Seriously,
like you know, thankfully, I'm married. I have someone in the house with me that I can talk this out with and realize that this is really like affecting me now. Like 100%, it is.
Dude, Q, I'm so I appreciate your bravery in saying that. I say bravery because I put it in my own perspective. I'm scared to say what you said as a perception of weakness and whatever type of shield I've tried to present myself with of having this armor, but I couldn't agree more with absolutely everything you talked about. Something that's, perspective to me is that I wanted to live by myself back in January, February, and my roommate had an opportunity to move out as he wanted to live by himself too. But for the past, literally my entire life, I had a roommate. And, a roommate to me represented somebody I could talk to. We could complain about work the same way. We listened to each other. We would just be bored and watch movies together or just talk about life and whatever. But the moment COVID hit, I was by myself. I didn't have a girlfriend. I still don't have a girlfriend. Not that I'm looking for one or whatever, but
hey.
Wait, did he just put his OnlyFans account in the chat? What?
Check my bio.
He's got his social on there. He's good.
But
me.
I was by myself for the first time ever. I had no opportunity to go out and travel and see friends or take advantage of this free time that we were given. Yeah. You took away what made me happy. And what made me happy was making other people happy. When you would sing along to a song, when you would put your hands up, and when you come say to me you enjoyed the music and had a good time, all of that was just taken away from me. And I felt so empty and, alone and not myself. And to a certain extent now, I still don't feel that way because that endorphin rush of just
it's a lot of the positivity of that, of those reactions. That's fulfilling you.
It's gonna replace it. Call of Duty, you gotta
find different avenues to really fill that up.
So have you been doing anything to find different avenues to fill that void?
And actually, I want to throw that to CUTSWELL as well, because I remember you saying last time we had you on, you were dealing with the same thing, and that I haven't touched my turntables in months, so I'm just not doing it.
Well, I mean, this is kind of a fucked up thing to say after all of you just talked about that, but I'm actually the best I've ever been. For me, DJing was like a horrible loop. For 5 years, it was 6 days a week of drinking. You know what I mean? All the shit that I wanted to do and get to do wasn't doing. So I do ride a bike now. I'm building a small business. I've opened up pop-up restaurants. I've done construction. I've worked in restaurants. I've lost 25 pounds, I'm eating well. I'm drinking significantly less. It's once every 10 days.
Thought you looked sexier.
Yeah. all the things that I like dreamt about doing or like fantasized, because like our careers are individual careers are all really similar, whether you're a photographer or a comedian or a DJ. Like, we've all talked about this in the past. You kind of go through the same process, and I've always dreamed about like what those other things would be like, and I'm taking this time to explore that. Like, reading 3 hours a day, you know, like this is great. Like, I'm not scared about the money stuff. Sometimes I am, you know. We'll figure it out, though. I just going with the flow and making the most of this. And like, if I were a DJ, and my career as a DJ is pretty much plateaued and isn't going to grow much more than it already has, given my age and like where I've positioned myself. If I had ambitions of being, or if I was younger, bigger in my career, I would eat this time up. You know, mixes, edits, learn Photoshop, go on lynda.com, take some classes, like study, like engage in new projects. I mean, if Twitch is your thing,
that's what this is for me. Yeah.
You know, like, yeah, this, like,
one of these really projects is this.
You guys have produced like a whole show. You know, I mean, this takes a lot of work, the whole team.
I will say, like, to touch on what you said, physically, yeah, I'm feeling the best I've ever felt in a long time. Just cutting out drinking and not being in clubs 100% has made me feel like a brand new person. Definitely. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. So if I could say this real quick, my personal connection with stress early on, this also, quick story, might explain why I am the way I am. In the mid to late 90s, I was in high school. My mother landed herself in the hospital. She worked a lot. And it was not, you know, she just did it because she had a lot of clients. She basically had a hair salon in Wheaton, employees, overhead, all that. She had my little sister. We're 11 years apart, and she decided to bring the business home, build an addition to the house, and start working from home, keep all her clients, and ditch the overhead. But she worked like, you know, 7:30 in the morning till at night. And long story short, it landed her in the hospital. And I think with when she finally got out, I remember stressful for us because I was all of a sudden taking care of you know, a 1-2-year-old, you know, my sister. And I found myself having to like drive around and do all this stuff. Luckily, I was driving at the time. But to make a long story short, she got out, and a lot of the things that I guess the hospitals and stuff were trying to tell her what was wrong with her didn't quite fit into the mold of what was happening. So she looked into Eastern medicine easily enough, and she started doing things like acupuncture, and everything along those lines. And it literally saved her life. And those doctors were telling her, Patty, you are stressed. Stress put you in the hospital. Do you do this? When was the last time you did this for yourself? Vacation? Who fucking knows? You know, she was like, I don't know. I just work, dude. I work and work and work. And once she, you know, I saw that early on, and it kind of made me realize like stress is like a very big #1 way to die. You know,
I think early on, you what people are forgetting is balance.
Yeah. So
especially all of us, like us DJs, we're all entrepreneurs.
And you
we're
see
all focused on DJ business. And
try to
right now, like, you know, come to realize, you know, during this whole time, you know, people tend to forget about personal growth, you know. And basically, like, you got to take some time to like really just like fulfill that, fulfill your soul, really, you know. I
mean,
quick
plug too, if you want to hear more about that story, my mother just wrote it in her first book. It's on Amazon. It's called Your Higher Vision. I also just recorded and released the audiobook version.
That's right, you were recording
on Amazon. It just got released like 3 days ago as an audiobook version. It's like $10. Again, Patty and Tornuts, Your Higher Vision. Go check it out, man. So, I think it's a really good read for this very moment.
So do I get to listen to your voice in the audiobook?
You get to hear my sister's voice. She read it. But my sister narrated it. I recorded it and produced it. And
family affair.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
Well, and CUTSWELL, to go back to what you were saying, and I think just because you're a good human being, you preface your comments by apologizing if it seems sad that you feel good right now. But I think that's the opposite. I think a lot of us, whether they're on this panel or listening, can learn from why you're happy. You said you're happy, but the reasons that you're happy are completely opposite than what you were kind of almost feeling stuck in doing. And like you said, this loop of DJing where it's like, yeah, you're getting money, you're doing your thing, but like you found this happiness because you've rediscovered who you are and appreciating the things that are available to you right now. And I think that's probably the most important thing that we can all take from it, is even though we've been stripped of so many things, we've been given the gift of a lot of other things. Like for me as a father and a family man, it's like I'm seeing my children more than I ever have before. And where I would miss out on a lot of weekend, Saturday, Sunday family stuff because I'm gigging, and it's like now instead of being like brushing my 6-year-old son off, who all he wants me to do is throw batting practice to him all day long, it's like, yeah, I can go I can go out there and do things. And so we have to appreciate what we're given and not focus on what we've lost first and foremost.
No, definitely. I just think it affects. It's going to affect everyone differently.
Oh, and it affects me. Trust me. Like, it's not that it doesn't affect me.
Yeah, I think I was at the beginning of this. The last time that I was on this show, I had even said something close to the effect of what CUTSWELL said, where I was like, I'm really enjoying this time off. Like I love being home on a Friday, Saturday night. And I definitely genuinely did feel that way for the first like 3-4 months.
It's okay if it's changed too, though.
Yeah, and now it's like
Absolutely.
5. We're about to hit 6, or we're about to hit 5 months, or is it 6? Something like that. Now it's starting to I'm really starting to see the effects of it now, just on a mental level. I've come to the realization during this that I'm an extrovert and I need to be around people. And it's starting to hit me now. The first couple months, 100% right where you are, CUTSWELL, and then now later on, I'm kind of like, shit, I miss doing that. I miss having these creative outlets. And this goes back to what you were asking me earlier, Will, what other stuff creatively have I been getting into? And it's like, for me at the time, I was also throwing parties. I was also designing flyers for a bunch of clubs, but everything was revolved around the bar business. And so I've lost actually more than just DJing. I've lost my party that I had been promoting and created from the ground up for 4 years. I've lost a bunch of accounts that I was designing. And these are all creative outlets, that I've lost all 3 now. And now it's trying to find something different. So to answer your question, I haven't found something different yet. But after talking with this panel and just realizing that, you're right. You need to find that just for your own mental health. I'm working on it.
100%. And being out and seeing friends this past weekend and a couple weekends before that, or prior to me getting COVID, because I did have a 3-week stint of being able to pick up some gigs, it truly helped recharge the fact that I'm also an extrovert and I thrive off of other people's energy. And I don't know how much I read into being a Gemini and being able to match somebody else's energy, but at least from a personal standpoint, I do tend to match the energy that I'm around. And I love the people that I'm surrounded by when it comes to my business partners, my friends, fellow DJs, because the energy is great. Like when I see As One at Heist, it's always hype. We always greet each other. And it's just a good time. And I missed having that energy around me. So it was a good little recharge.
You always made your round, man. You always made the rounds.
Man, I love seeing everybody out when we do have those rare nights off. But I did want to also ask CUTSWELL, what are some of the books that you're reading? Because it sounds like it could be something I could just, start picking up.
Right now I'm reading a business management book. It's like 12,000 pages, so it's taking up.
That's a lot. You mean an encyclopedia?
Yeah. I'm looking to open. I'm working on opening up a juice bar nail salon concept.
Wow.
Of all things.
Oh,
interesting.
Yeah, it's called Lemon in London. Full juice bar, cafe, nail salon. So I'm entering a business that I have very little experience in. And I've hired a number of consultants. I'm working at writing my business proposal. So
it's a challenge, man. Everybody needs to go through, basically challenge themselves, man. I've always find that's a good way of finding that avenue.
Yeah, and I think that's good. Like, if we can do it in quick answers to not, so we're getting close to the end of time.
Yeah,
but like,
we got about a couple more minutes.
What's
energy though?
What's anybody? You know, we had a question come in from the email of, you know, if there was like a government program or someone was either giving you money for like CUTSWELL with this business or something that you could go back and you could get, the government would give you money to go learn a new trade. Like what would you do? Aside, and it can't be DJ, can't be anything.
I already know what I do.
What's that?
HVAC.
Oh, yeah.
Practical.
That's real.
Everybody needs
it.
Yeah. My brother-in-law does HVAC outside a lot of other people I know, and he's been working. Like,
yeah, you don't stop.
Coronavirus did not stop the HVAC.
Nah, chief. You need your AC.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's up with you, son? I mean, you went from bar to now coffee. That kind of counts, but what else is going on?
Dude, you got me at a loss here. Yeah, what would I do? I mean, go into psychology maybe, like become a counselor, a mentor.
That's what Conflict's doing. Conflict went back to college.
I kind of
really.
Yeah, he's taking classes.
He's gonna be. He's going for psychology.
Psychology, yeah.
That's right up his alley too.
I could see you, son, as a cool, calm, collected dude while I'm laying out on the couch.
Lay down, son. Let me hear your issues.
Yeah. How much time do we have?
59 minutes and 30. Clock is running.
Anybody else? Anybody got some good ideas?
It's had to be something creative. That's all.
Yeah, I would think, I don't know what it's called, but it's like, you know, like, what is it, like CAD or like, I don't want to say like being an architect, like learning
3D render,
computer animated design,
but
or
like
computer automated design.
Yeah, I mean, I have so many ideas in my head.
You want to build bridges
for products, man? No, shit. Tell me to build it.
Hey, if you want to be like, you know, my father-in-law, he's an engineer. He got CAD dudes that.
Dude, I almost went into civil engineering, man.
Yeah, so possibly something like that. Even though I know that I don't have the mental fortitude to probably stick with that. But, you guys know I'm way too laid back to like want to stress myself out.
Anybody else?
I'm like, man, fuck that.
We're running out of time here.
How to fly a plane.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's a good one.
The pilot's license.
If I had 20/20 vision, I would definitely do that.
I'm gonna be a scuba instructor.
Oh yeah,
Dave.
Having 20/20 vision is never going to mean the same thing after this year.
Oh!
Hit you with the real.
It sounds like a tweet.
Yeah. And you're gonna be a headline writer.
Yeah, right. Phone up right now.
Florida's gonna Florida. I mean, you're already on to something. You just need to coin phrases and trademark them.
There you go.
I should put that on a T-shirt. There you go.
Well, guys, we've run out of time. That is it for this show. Time to slow things down and wrap it up. No music yet, but we're gonna give some time for our guests to plug anything that they have going on, promote whatever you got going on. Like starting with Zay, ALIZAY. What you got going on?
Actually, since going to LA, I've gotten heavy into production. The last track that I did was IDK featuring Burna Boy. It's called December. I got some coming out with Bieber and the Baby.
Wow, that's
nice.
So I've been, just trying to be creative still, you know what I'm saying? And just, staying healthy mentally and physically and spiritually healthy.
That's
First, and everything else comes after that.
Awesome.
That's what's up.
What about you, Will?
Oh, you're gonna make me follow up with that? The Justin Bieber. I'm like, oh, he better not call me next. I guess my next venture is gonna be. I wish we got a chance to talk about it, but talking about the Twitch platform. and the whole dynamic behind Twitch for both like the gaming aspect of things and of course the DJing aspects of things. So I guess twitch.tv at Will Gralley, and Instagram at Will Gralley. That's about it.
Word. Son?
Well, you heard about the coffee shop.
Yep.
Doing the workspace and the coffee shop during the day.
Have As One design it.
And and within the design, we're gonna create this really this platform for being able to stream from the flat as well. So I'm on Twitch as well as DJ SUN 1, the numeral 1, and then as I roll that out, the new look of the flat, I'll release these Love Letter. And you see the hashtag there, DJ SUN's Love Letter. Love Letter has been an album that's been sitting there because I'm not able to release it. I was going to release it March 27th. Happened. So everything is ready. 2 videos are there. We might be able to squeeze in a 3rd video if we can get something creative done. And then I roll it out. It's distributed worldwide through InGrooves, so it'll be on all platforms. And yeah, that's kind of what I'm pining to get going here as soon as we get a vaccine.
Yeah.
And disco never died, man.
What about you, Koo?
Since we're not DJing, I don't have a whole lot to plug, but kind of touching on what Will was talking to me about earlier and finding new avenues to be creative for my own mental health. I was doing graphics before the pandemic hit at a bunch of bars. If anyone needs anything done, hit me up on socials at DJKU. I'll freelance some design work for you if you're in need. Holla.
Nice.
Awesome.
Nice.
And finally, CUTSWELL.
Well, I'm opening a nail salon, but also I think I am going to start up with Twitch in the next coming weeks. I just want to make it something. I don't want to just go on there and just DJ. I want to come up with like a concept first, like maybe more of like a show, you know. So kind of have that in the background. Friday, Saturdays probably, but I am really tied up with this project like all day, every day right now. So I'm focused on that mainly.
You could do the 8 at 8.
Awesome. Well, once again, guys, give it up one more time for our special guests, ALIZAY, DJ Koo, CUTSWELL, DJ SUN, Will Gralley.
Thank you guys again for being on here.
Thanks for having us, man.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, again, this show is brought to you by Beat Refinery DJ School at Bach2Rock. If you want to learn how to mix, scratch, and make music, visit beatrefinery.com with locations nationwide. If you missed this show, you can watch a replay of this episode and any of our past shows on Facebook or YouTube / Beat Refinery. If you prefer to listen to the audio side of things, this episode is going to be uploaded this Thursday and every Thursday to Apple, Spotify, Mixcloud, wherever you consume and listen to all things podcast. So be sure to subscribe and rate us. We appreciate the support and love from y'all. This has been like one of my favorite episodes of all time. Great conversation. You know, everybody needs to talk more about mental health, you know, just finding new ways to, you know, keep yourself happy. But that's it for the show. We'll see you all next week. So once again, wash those hands, keep wearing a mask, spread some love. Everybody say peace. Peace out, y'all.
Peace.